Monday morning, my friends. MLive Chief Meteorologist Mark Torregrossa with the MLive Morning Weather Update. A couple of days of severe thunderstorms to talk about. Two rounds. It looks like one this afternoon, maybe starting as early as very early afternoon in the far northwest part of lower Michigan, Traverse City and along the shoreline, and then developing southward, moving to the east. That's round number one. And then tomorrow, the actual main storm system, the main cold front kicks through. We've been timing that all along for the last week or so. And that's another chance of some severe thunderstorms. So here we go. And we'll start with what the Storm Prediction Center from NOAA says. Kyle Edmark says golfing in Traverse City 2:30 this afternoon. We'll see here in just a second on the radar. Be careful. So, Storm Prediction Center says that you see the yellow area covering just about all of lower Michigan, a little piece of the UP. That's a level 2 severe weather chance. It's a big area because you'll see on the radar forecast the thunderstorms are scattered about that whole area. Now, look over to the right, the tornado forecast for today. That's a 2 to 4% chance of a tornado within 25 miles of any given point. It's kind of an odd shape. I would expect that shape to change with the update around 12:30 because they kind of come up into Wisconsin, drop down, and then make a little odd thing. And the severe wind forecast for today mimics the slight risk area, and the hail forecast is anywhere in any of these thunderstorms. Now, tomorrow, again, this is the cold front moving. And so late afternoon and evening in the southeast half of lower Michigan, Bay City to Grand Rapids, south and east. That's where the severe weather is possible. And they've finally added the 2% chance of a tornado. You could see from Alpena, Oscoda, Tawas, down through the Saginaw Valley area, the Thumb, down to Alma, Lansing, Ann Arbor, Jackson, and Detroit for tomorrow. And that's also the same place where the severe wind gusts and maybe some hail are expected. So that gives you the overall rundown of what is expected. Okay, now we'll get into some of the details. And so this is the radar at the moment. Pretty quiet, but thunderstorms are expected to develop rapidly along the western Michigan, West Lake Michigan shore, West Michigan along the Lake Michigan shoreline. Note that we're trying to see some sunshine in some places in the western half. And in a case like this, sunshine is not our friend because that stimulates the temperature, makes it go up, increases the instability, and gives more energy to the thunderstorm. So now let's get into the brunt of meteorology now with the high resolution models, and you'll see what I'm talking about. So here we go. So this is expected to be 2 o'clock. So sometime that's 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. So sometime in the 1 to 3 o'clock time period, thunderstorms, which could be severe with an isolated damaging wind or some hail, develops from Pellston to Charlevoix, Petoskey, Traverse City area, down southward to Holland and Benton Harbor, South Bend, and starts to move east. So this is 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 4, 5. So let's call it 1 to 3 in the western half of lower Michigan, and let's call it the 3 to 5 o'clock, 3 to 6 o'clock in the eastern half of lower Michigan. So that's 6 o'clock right there. So stormy afternoon as things are what we call in weather dynamic. Remember, in weather, the radar configuration changes. It's not just a simple, hey, there's a line of thunderstorms over Wisconsin moving this rate and it'll be here. this will be a dynamic situation where the storms develop over us. And that's where the models have come in over the years in forecasting the development, not just the advection or extrapolation of the storms. Now, that's line number one. So we go through the night tonight fairly quiet, and then tomorrow, 10, 11, noon. And now this model, I wouldn't trust it this far out. This is 4, 5, 6, 7 o'clock. It doesn't have the cold front igniting. So now you got me. We jump to the next model. Let me go to it now. And so the next model goes out a little bit farther, but it says the same thing. This is 1, 2, 3 o'clock, 4, 5 o'clock this afternoon. So same idea of scattered severe thunderstorms sweeping across the state. Nothing dangerous going on tonight. This is tomorrow morning. Thunderstorms in the north by Traverse City. And then we go into the afternoon. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that's what I would expect. And you see that the severe storm forecast kind of fits that, from Saginaw to Grand Rapids, south and east. And probably your worst severe weather is going to be Ann Arbor, Detroit area, Jackson, the far southeast part of the state, where the timing is such that it will be, those storms will be coming through in the heat of the afternoon. Here's a total rainfall forecast off of the high resolution ensembles. And so what it says is today we could have, I would call this to 1/4 to 3/4 inch everywhere type rain. And somebody's asking, Lars. Yeah, nobody's talking about a black screen, and my all looks normal. So something must be going on with yours. Hit refresh. So today, 1/4 to 3/4 on the base rain, and then of course when you get a thunderstorm, you get 1 to 1.5 inch rains, and then this takes it through to tomorrow and puts more storms in the southeast. Okay, now let's go on to the weekend. So what we're going to do today is we're going to watch out for fast developing thunderstorms in the afternoon. Main threats: isolated damaging winds. What we call a severe wind, the official definition of a severe wind is 58-mile-an-hour gust or greater. So you're always going to hear, when there's a severe thunderstorm in the forecast, you're going to hear possibility of damaging winds. 60-mile-an-hour wind, does blow off a large limb off of a dead limb off of a tree. 70 miles an hour is when things start to get more widespread, a lot of trees coming down. 80 miles an hour is a threshold that I've always found where things get widespread and what we would call in Michigan devastating. We don't expect widespread 80-mile-an-hour gusts or 70-mile-an-hour gusts today, but with the heat and humidity, it can always happen. So be careful. Also, the hail, not expected to be as large as yesterday. Yesterday, Unionville and the Thumb had, I believe they some of them were called 2 3/4 inch diameter hailstones. So those were big. All right, now let's go into the week and the holiday weekend. So we pick up with the European. What I'm showing you here is a 3-hour rainfall forecast. And so in windows of 3 hours. And I like this. This is tomorrow afternoon and evening. And note that the storms are showing in the eastern part of the state in the afternoon and evening tomorrow. So pretty easy scenario to follow, pretty easy scenario to keep yourself safe from. One line of thunderstorms in late afternoon, evening, and just don't be out away from sturdy shelter when that rolls through. Then we go to Wednesday, we dry out, we start to cool off. It's going to get cooler. Thursday looks like it should be fairly sunny. Friday, What about the weekend? This is Friday evening, and then here's Saturday morning early. So it appears as though a warm front is moving northward on Saturday with a shot of some showers, and then we go into Sunday and it looks dry. Memorial Day looks dry right now, too. So we continue to see a warm ridge trying to build in the middle part of the U.S. My wife asked me yesterday, she's like, is Memorial Day weekend going to be nice? And then even with my wife, I got to go, okay, what's your nice? Well, not cold. Okay, what's your not cold? I even gotta pull this out of my family members. I said, I need a number. I need a number. Those are gonna be in the 80s? No. Oh. I said, about 75 maybe. Oh, okay. So, but I said we're probably a day off from summer, a summer feel. In other words, next Tuesday is when it would really kick in. And we continue to see this. So watch the European model. And remember, this is 15,000 feet up. We look for bends in the jet stream for storm systems, like right there. That's the one coming through tomorrow. And then it gets us into a cooler surface flow, which doesn't need colder air from Canada because we got the lovely Great Lakes and their chilly waters, and any air that flows across that cools us off. So cooler Wednesday, Thursday. We'll have to look and see if there's a frost threat. I'll try to backtrack. And then this is the weekend, so there's a disturbance coming through. So the weekend is not going to be totally dry. Very rarely is a 3-day holiday weekend, Memorial Day or Labor Day. Both of those are still kind of in a time period where 3 days is hard to have dry weather. It's tough to have dry weather 3 days in a row. Now, this is by next week, by next Thursday. Note the ridge developing. Note the position of the ridge. Now we're getting out 16 days, and note that. So if that were something that was an idea for at least the first half of summer, we're going to be very warm to hot, depending on how you call it. I guess I would say we are going to have most days in the 80s with that kind of pattern, and we could have some days at 90 degrees, whether you call that hot or not. I always get this thing where people move up from Texas and say, no, that's not hot. Hot is 110. Well, 110 in Texas, yes, but here in Michigan, 90 is hot. This is the temperature anomaly forecast. So remember, when you see the blues and greens, we're cooler than normal. And so what I wanted to show you is that we're very warm the next 2 days before the cold front. And then this is Wednesday and Thursday. And what does this represent? This represents temperatures that are 10 degrees cooler than normal. So I'd call it cool Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Now we're into Saturday afternoon, and the cool air is still holding on a touch. And then we go into early next week. And then as that ridge establishes, we start to get into a steadier, general, warmer than normal pattern. Not hot, because the Great Lakes still have to warm up, but you're talking a few degrees warmer than normal, and that gets us to this then. Let's look at some exact details. So today, the southeastern half from, let's say, Mount Pleasant, south and east, will be in the 80s. Warmest will be Detroit, Ann Arbor, the thumb. And then tomorrow, 80s to near 90 degrees. Ann Arbor, 88. Detroit, 90-ish. Northwest half, a little bit cooler, but still warm, 70s. And then Wednesday, we'll look. This might be overdone on the cool air in northern Michigan, like Traverse City, Charlevoix, Gaylord, 45 degrees. Pretty tough, but if it's a stiff north wind, that could be the case right along shorelines. Thursday, 50s to near 60. Friday, upper 60s. Probably everywhere if we get rid of the lake breeze. Saturday, you know, warmer in the south. Sunday, temperatures solidly in the low 70s. Memorial Day, let's call it 70 to 75. 70 north, 75 south. Then Tuesday into the mid 70s. Next Wednesday in the 70s. Next Thursday. And as the ridge builds, our model starts to show as we get out there toward June 1st, we start to see 80 degrees more consistently. So definitely the summer weather is coming. Oh, and I want to jump back right now just for us gardeners. Let's look at what the nights would be when we are cool Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Now remember, my general rule of thumb is take 20 degrees off of the 5 o'clock in the afternoon temperature if to find out what tomorrow morning will be like. That's if the winds are going to be calm and if the skies are going to be clear. If you're going to have a wind or some cloudiness, you can take 15 degrees off. So if we take 20 off, how do we get down to 35 and frost? We only have a high of 55 or lower. So we have to kind of think about a frost. And remember, I told you that the southern half of Michigan probably is safe, but the northern half has cold pockets, and just about every year you get some cold pockets of frost, rural areas and whatnot. So let's look at the low temperature forecast. Obviously, the next couple days will be warm. Now, this is Wednesday morning. So your frosty spots in northern lower Michigan, but not in southern lower Michigan. Now, Thursday. Thursday would have me a little bit concerned. Clare, Mount Pleasant, northward could have freezing temperatures, maybe a light frost in the thumb in the cold spots. Eastern Tuscola, Sanilac, Lapeer County, down into St. Clair, but not for Lansing, not for Grand Rapids, not for Ann Arbor. Then Friday morning would be our last chilly morning. Again, frosty in the north, very common, very, very common in that area. But 40 from Bay City, Saginaw southward. And then as we get into the weekend, we take care of that. And you're probably even done with frost. Remember, these are low temperatures. You're probably even done with frost in northern lower Michigan at that point. So there's a lot going on in weather here. We're going to follow the severe weather. I think this is a manageable one. Now tomorrow I've been eyeing all along a jet core, a strong piece of the jet stream. But fortunately, and I've talked about this a lot lately, fortunately it looks like it will be out of sync with the storms and the surface cold front. And that's a good thing, because when we get massive severe weather here in Michigan, meaningful ones that we remember, damage a lot of stuff, it's when everything comes together and in the 3 to 8 p.m. window. Tomorrow, I don't know that everything will come together for something massive. But I do know that we could certainly have scattered thunderstorms that would produce damaging winds, maybe an isolated tornado and whatnot like that. So we'll keep you covered on mlive.com/weather. I'm getting ready to write a post about that. Then we'll get an update in the early afternoon. I'll write a post about the update there. Pretty simple story. Thunderstorms erupt this afternoon, move east across the state. One round, wherever you're at, an hour of thunderstorm activity. And then same deal tomorrow in the late afternoon, evening, but tomorrow it's in the southeast half of the state. There's your MLive morning weather update for me, Mark Torregrosso. Let's see what we have from folks here. I got my, I opened the YouTube app and read your comments, your questions. Let's see. Really Guy 3331. Hi, Mark. Need to go to Bay City at 3 p.m. Dentist appointment. Thunderstorms. Also, I hope Bagel is doing good. Fingers crossed. Bagel is doing good. He stair steps down a little bit occasionally, seems to bounce back, but he's getting up there. We're going to call him uh, 22, 22 already this month. That's an estimate because we got him from the Bay County Animal Shelter, I think they called it back at that time, in 2008. And we took him to our vet, a very good vet in Bay City, and he aged Bagel at 4 years when we took him there in 2008. So we don't actually know his exact birthday, but we call it like middle of May. He's old. Yeah, Bay City, thunderstorms, so be careful there. Marjorie Stevens, awesome gardening forecast for Southeast Michigan next weekend. Yes, certainly it is. And let's see, Tony Carino. So to be safe, should take the canopy down off the pergola. Yeah, if you got something in the next couple of days that could be damaged by a brief 60-mile-an-hour wind gust, something that's a kite. Tony Carino's kind of indicating that he's got something up, maybe like a camper canopy. Yeah, I would always take a camper canopy down in a day when there's a severe thunderstorm chance, because your chances of getting hit by severe thunderstorms are very rare. But if that gust comes through, those canopies are not made to withstand 60, 70-mile-an-hour gusts. If it hits it just right, rips it off. So yes, definitely always take the precaution, because, I go with the fact that, hold on. I go with the fact that it's a lot simpler to take something down for a minute or two and leave it down for a couple of days than it is to fight with insurance to replace it or get out your pocketbook and replace it on your own. There you go. MLive Chief Meteorologist Mark Torregrossa. Bookmark mlive.com/weather. We're always working to make it more accurate for you, make it more meaningful. So keep doing what we do. Take care. Have yourselves a great day.